Hey there, and welcome to today's Students, Tomorrow's Talent. I'm Dakota Palicki. On the show, we've talked a lot about the 36 million adults who have some college credit but have yet to earn a degree. Whether they're called stopouts, comebackers, we focus a lot of time in conversations with institutional leaders, state policymakers, researchers on what kind of challenges these students face. What it's going to take for us to recruit them back into the education programs they need to be successful to meet our nation's need for talent. And what about all those adults, too, that are faced with the decision to have to move careers? How do we best retrain the people that we need in our country? Again, we've spent a lot of time on the show talking to thought leaders in this space, but not enough time talking directly with students. On today's show, we talk with two of these students who decided to go back to school at one point in time in their life to finish the education and training they needed to be successful. My first guest today is Jonathan Williams. Jonathan's here to share a little bit about his story, about when he went back to Wayne State University to finish his bachelor's degree after 30 years of being out. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so are you in Detroit? Or I know we met in Detroit. I'm not sure if you're actually from Detroit, live there.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Detroit. I'm currently living in Canton, Michigan, which is maybe 30 miles west of Detroit. Born and raised, graduated from Detroit Public School System, from high school, graduated from Wayne State University right there in Detroit. So I have some Detroit roots.
Yeah, well, I know we're excited to talk today about what it takes to graduate from Wayne State University. And you and I met about a year ago, and where you had talked to some of our folks just about going back to school and what it took. So I guess take us all the way back. Like you're in high school, you're in Detroit, you're what are you thinking? What's your next step?
Wow. So going back to high school, I always knew I wanted to go to school after high school. I always wanted to go. Wasn't sure where I wanted to go, but as I got closer to graduation, of course, filling out all the applications, and I decided on going to Wayne State University. I had the opportunity to go to any college in the state because of a Detroit Compact scholarship, academic scholarship. So it was just a matter of which which school I wanted to choose to go to. So I selected Wayne State University and was accepted to Wayne State University. I was happy about that because it was close to home. I really didn't want to go out of state, but so I chose to go home, stay right at home.
So academic scholarship, you could have gone anywhere. You choose to stay close to home.
Yep.
Your first days on campus, did you live at home while you were in school?
Hey, I stayed at home, and I'm I'm glad that I did make that choice because let's see, I graduated in June, decided to stay home, and my dad passed away in October. And so I'm happy that I did stay home because it's just me and my mom at home at the time. And so I was able to stay home and help out a little bit more at the house with my mom. So it was a good decision as opposed to being away to school, having to try to transition back and move back and all that other stuff in the midst of losing a parent. So I was happy I stayed home.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds a good choice. I'm sorry to hear about your father as well.
Thank you.
So you're at Wayne State. What did you start studying?
I started, actually an accounting field. I chose accounting because of a high school teacher that I admired, one of my favorite teachers at the time, told me, "You will be good in accounting. You're good at math." I'm like, okay, sounds good to me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Sure, I'm good at math. Accounting's math. Okay, let's try it out. So I started off with the accounting track, did an actual internship with one of the major accounting firms at the time. And it did not fit my personality at the time. I mean, when doing my internship, the whole floor was full of people, but it was just too quiet for me. I mean, the silence was just overwhelming. So I stopped doing the accounting. I went into the IT, and I enjoy it much better.
But you switched to IT, and how far along were you at Wayne State at this point?
Oh, I wasn't too far. Maybe the end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year
Okay.
was when I made the decision to quit. Actually, I stopped my process around that time as well, because I began to become overwhelmed with life, going to school. My grades slipped just a little bit, to the point where I didn't want it to drop too much lower. And
Mhm.
so I actually just decided to quit going to school at the time.
So right around the same time of switching your major, you
Yep.
know, some life things are happening, grades are slipping, and you stopped out. What did you think at the time when you decided to kind of stop out for a while?
My first thought was, I have the scholarship. What's going to happen to the scholarship if I decide to stop? I have this internship with this major accounting firm. What's going to happen with the internship? And of course, the conclusion was, I'm no longer in school, I lose my internship. If I'm no longer in school, I'll lose my scholarship. But at the time, um, that was the decision I made because I became too overwhelmed. I didn't really talk to a lot of people at the time to help me in my decision making. So I was okay with that. My mom was okay with that, of course. Mom's going to support me in whatever decision I make. And so I just decided to kind of stop for a while. And I said, you know what, let me just take a break, maybe a semester or two, and then I'll get back in school. And not even considering how I'm going to pay for it, not even thinking about where's the money going to come from, because at that time I didn't have to pay for it. So it really wasn't in the forefront of my thinking. It was just, you're overwhelmed, just take a break and get back in school
Yeah,
later.
yeah. So did you end up returning back to school a semester or two later?
I did not go back a semester or two later. That break became longer and longer and longer. Let's see. After I stopped, somewhere around, get ready to tell my age, somewhere around 92, 93, somewhere around there, I decided to stop. End up getting married in 94. Um, then I took a class here or there throughout the years, but never anything really serious. I started working, got married, had children, and the delay just became further and further and further away. And my priority became working, taking care of my wife, taking care of my child at the time. Then we had another child. So school was not really on the forefront of my thinking at the time.
What were you working in? So you stop out of school, you're getting married. You said you had a job, you know,
Mhm.
supporting your kids. What were you doing?
At the time, I was working in the accounting department, actually, doing some payroll, doing some accounts receivable. And it was something I was interested in at the time. It actually gave me opportunity to get a job because of my experience with internship. I was able to get in the accounting department there, and um, although it was paying the bills, I wasn't fulfilled inside, if you will.
Mhm. Did you end up shifting jobs eventually?
I did maybe 5 6 years, 5 years at that job. I ended up getting kind of bored there because I couldn't advance at the time, in which we all know the advancement requires some requirements that I didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
I think I kind of maxed out in my position until I was able to get my degree. And so I became frustrated that I could do the work, but I didn't meet the minimum requirements, um, which was to have a degree.
Yeah, you
And
were
so
qualified but didn't have the piece of paper.
exactly, exactly. So, positions there, I just kind of maxed out in, and I looked for a job someplace else. Get good friend of mine told me about the opportunity. I applied for it. I got the job, and it was actually in the IT department, but it was more so in the procurement area, which I guess more now is a supply chain management.
Mhm.
But at the time, that wasn't called supply chain, and so it was more of an accounting person for the IT department, if you will, kind of help with the budgeting and budget reports and things of that nature. So it was kind of a hybrid between accounting and IT, and it really got my interest more into IT at the
Mm. So, you know, as we fast forward a little bit, you've been
time.
working, you're married, you're how many kids do you have?
Currently, I have three.
Three
At the
kids.
time, it was just the one.
Okay, so you have a kid going on, and
Hmm.
eventually, I know that you made your way back to Wayne State.
Yes.
Talk to me about that decision process. I mean, it seems that you were doing fine in your career. I mean, you running into some barriers about upward mobility, but
Mhm.
you changed jobs before that, so it didn't seem like that was necessarily, what got you into the decision.
Uh, just constantly hitting that I'm qualified, but don't have the requirements, don't have a piece of paper. Wanting to advance and do a little bit more in my career, wanting to get more into management or entrepreneurship and things to advance me and keep that ceiling from stopping me from growth. And just the decision to go back to school, I wanted to show my children that there's more out there than just a regular old type of skills. There's the skills, which is good for some people. Then there's the academics, which is good for others. And so um, I just decided to go back to school at the time. Excuse me, my light went out in the room.
Uh-oh. Motion.
Motion sensor. I'm too still.
That is not a
Okay.
commentary on the interview. This interview is fantastic. If only our climate saving technology would acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I think that's what's most motivating by part of your story too. It's like, you come to this spot where you say, you really want to show to your kids that there are this other path,
Yeah.
this other way.
Absolutely.
And that seems
Absolutely.
really
I mean, especially, for me being a black male in this country, sometimes we not afforded the same opportunities as some of our counterparts, whether we are qualified or not. Sometimes that presents a problem and a challenge for us, and it also is a confidence booster for me. Once I finally graduated and got that degree, I was able to feel a little bit more confident. Although I knew my skill set, I knew what I can do. It's just sometimes I couldn't even get inside the room to show what I can do because I didn't have that piece of paper. And now I can walk into some rooms with a little bit more confidence that not only do I have the skill set, not only do I have the intelligence, but also have the piece of paper. And so now let's go ahead and move forward.
Yeah. So what did it take to get that piece of paper? I know, talk to me about when you obviously decided to go back to Wayne State. What brought you back to Wayne State to begin with?
Yeah, Wayne State again is a home school, close to home. Didn't want to go through the process of doing any type of transfers, what credits would transfer, because I started my college journey in 1990. I didn't get involved with the Warrior Wayback Program at Wayne State till 2018. So almost 30 years later, that I finally decided, let me just go back to school. Let me do what I need to do. Hurry up and get my degree because it's already almost 30 years and I don't have it yet. Taking one class here, one class there, it was just going to take too long to accomplish my goals. Just going to take too long to further my career, and I'm getting older. And so after talking with my wife, and she actually is the one who found out about the program at Wayne State University, told me about it. I registered for it, and I went to the informational session. At that time, I was short maybe 11 credits. I think it was 11 credits from obtaining my degree. And if it was up to me, I would have taken one class at a time, which wasn't able to be part of the qualifications for the program. So I would just been taking one class, one class, one class. My wife encouraged me as only a wife could, go ahead and do it. And we met the requirements. We talked over with the representatives there, and we got involved with the program. And I really, really appreciate that program. I was part of the inaugural class from when it started, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
It sounded like maybe your wife didn't tell you about the program. She told you about the program.
She told me about the program. This is something you're going to do. 'Cause quite frankly, my wife has more confidence in me than I have when it comes to that. She told me years ago, you could take more than one class. Me being the type of person, nah, I don't think so because I got this going on, I got this going on, I got this going on. I can't do more than one class. It's going to take me away from home. I won't be able to do all these other things. You can do it. So I had the support at the time of my three children, I had the support of my wife and support of some other friends and siblings. Go ahead and go for it. And to take four classes in order to finish my degree in one semester because I want to hurry up and get it over with. I took the challenge, take four classes. That's all you needed to have to complete it, get it done in a semester and be over with.
So you jump
And
from taking one class a semester, nice, reasonably paced, to taking
yeah,
all four at the
comfortable.
same time.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
What
My
was that
last four
like?
classes. It was honestly, I was able to do it. It wasn't as challenging as I thought it was. I had to approach it differently than I had in the past, of course. And so what I did was I established a schedule, an actual written schedule, which was something I hadn't done in none of my classes before. Was I actually wrote out what I needed to do when I needed to do it. I took the syllabus from every class when things were due, and just wrote it out. Monday, I take care of this. Tuesday, I take care of this. Wednesday, I take care of this. All the way up to, Thursday, maybe take a break. Friday, take a break. Saturday, pick it back up. And I wrote everything out. And so I was able to stay on top of my academics as well as things in my personal life I had to delay or put off or not participate, but I had the support of my family, my friends, my siblings, and I was able to accomplish it. Surprising even to myself
Mhm.
that I was able to do four classes, um, work, and take care of family as well.
Yeah, and obviously
It
the.
did.
Sorry, go ahead.
It did help that what, three out of the four classes were online classes. It did help, and one I had to actually go in um, to the brick and mortar, but that was a big help.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta imagine that's a big help because it's great that you had the support of your family and your kids and your wife and siblings and a lot of your
Yeah.
friends. But also, I mean, you're still working during this whole time, right?
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely, and as you pointed out earlier, I work in IT, so I'm in the support area of IT department, and so I'm on call various times, and I could be on call at any time of the day. There's a production outage, I have to respond to that if it's my area that has to respond to it. So it was pretty challenging,
Yeah.
but I was able to do it because I wrote out a schedule.
Mm. So, the Warrior Wayback program includes some debt forgiveness work as well. Did you take advantage of the debt forgiveness component of Warrior Wayback?
Yes, absolutely. That was the bread and butter of the program
Mm.
is to be able to eliminate some of the debt. The program calls for 3 semesters. I didn't have 3 semesters left, but thanks to Don Metley and the provost Whitfield, they were able to get me into the program because I only had 1 semester left. I was able to get in the program with the 1 semester and got my balance to where it needed to be. And I was successful through the program.
Yeah. So you have, all right, let's run down the checklist here. So you have some of your
Yep.
debt taken care of. It's affordable. You have a lot of family support and friend support.
Yes.
That's great. You figured out a really great schedule going on so you can balance it between work. You take all four classes. And
Right.
after, 30 years later of
Right.
starting, you're at graduation where you're finally earning that
Yes.
bachelor's degree. Tell me about that day.
Man, that was so exciting. It was surreal. It was, I can't believe it's finally happening. Is this really happening? Don't pinch me. I don't want to wake up because it's finally here. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. And then to have my wife, my children, and a couple of my close friends there with me at the time. I would have had more people there, but they only allowed you so many tickets, guests to arrive. But I mean, oh my goodness, it was such an amazing feeling. Again, because it took almost 30 years to happen, it almost seemed like it wasn't real. I had to look at it and are you sure? I kept double checking. You sure this is me? You sure this is me? Because ironically, it might have been early 2018 or 2017 when I was before the program. I was trying to check back into re-registering at the school. I got an email that I was qualified to graduate. Um, but they had the wrong Jonathan Williams, and, and I was like, "You sure? You sure? You know, I have this class. No, you're fine." And then after they checked, actually with my number, then no, I'm sorry to get you all excited.
Mm.
It's not you. So when it was my turn, I had to double check, triple check, make sure it's my number, make sure I didn't have any surprises, no catches. I did take four classes. I wanted to make sure those were the last four. I didn't want any surprises. And so my advisor at the time was very, very helpful. The team that I had with the Warrior Way Back program, very, very helpful. Every question I had, they was able to answer, keep me on track, make sure that Of course, going back to when I first started, the course numbers had changed to where they are more recently. So they had to do some investigation and make sure all those requirements were met. They were very, very, very helpful. It was the first time that I actually felt like they had my support and they were supporting me as opposed to me just being a number in the school. Was through this program, and they got me to the finish line. They got to graduation, and man, it was so incredible. And because this it was the inaugural uh, semester for the Warrior Wayback program, President Wilson had heard about me being in a program and my journey. He actually acknowledged me doing the presidential address at the commencement.
Wow.
So that was an incredible experience, man, for my wife, my children, my friends to hear the president of the university mention my name during the commencement, man, was just incredible. Just
Yeah.
incredible.
What did your kids say anything to you?
They were happy. I mean, my children, they were happy. They weren't sitting with me at the time, of course, but afterwards they hugged me. One of my friends actually videotaped it, so he saw my children crying, my wife crying, and I got all that on tape. So it was very, very, very special. And they had a surprise party for me, man. At the end, I didn't know anything about it. I'm sitting there trying to, we right after commencement, we're sitting around, a few of us as part of the program, we're having lunch and doing this, and we're gonna go out later. We're gonna go out later. Yeah, okay. Well, let's stay here a little bit long. No, we're gonna go out. So later on, they had a surprise for me. So I had some other family and friends waiting for me at the restaurant later in that evening. So it was an incredible day, Dakota.
Mm.
Incredible.
Well, I mean, it's not too surprising that they could keep it from you considering the schedule you were keeping.
Exactly. I had no idea, and this was probably the only time in life that they surprised me. 'Cause I usually figure things out. Of course, I'm the head of my house. I'm central figure. Usually, most things come through me. Even with my wife, we discuss a bunch of stuff, but she put it off without me, and so kind of scares me that she can do things without me now.
Well, I thank you for sharing so much, and I kind of want to, I guess like I mentioned to you before, we've on the show have had a lot of conversations with, university officials and
Mhm.
researchers and state policymakers and others, all who are trying to figure out how to reach their Jonathans in their own community.
Mhm.
And then once you reach them, how do we actually find a way to make sure that you support them on success? And
Sure.
I guess what is your message to the other Jonathans that are out there, or what is your message to those that are trying to find and serve the other folks that are in their communities that were in a similar position as you?
Sure. Awareness is the big thing. Making sure that the students who have dropped out, stopped out, decided not to go back to school, let them know that there are programs out there that's available to them. For the schools that don't have programs, get on board because it's successful. Students, the biggest problem for people going back to school is how's it going to be paid for? Because we could find a way to make it happen. I found a way to take 4 classes in one semester. So we could find a way to do it. It's the monetary value that we have to make sure is there. They have the support. Not only being able to make it affordable, but that the university has a support system that is really going to support these students, especially the adult learners that's going back to school. Those who have careers, those who have family, it's difficult to be able to juggle academic study time, working on projects with your teammates, with the other students, and also have to babysit, also have to cook dinner or do whatever you have to do within your normal life. So it's making it affordable, making the opportunities available. And if there's more opportunities to have online classes or some other things available to help the children, daycare type of programs, anything that can support the student and let them know we're here for you. We want you to be successful. We want you to accomplish this goal. What do you need us to do to help you get there? We want to be able to meet you there. You do the academics, you do the studying, and we'll make sure that everything else is lined up for you. And let's get it done. Let's get you out there. Let's get you better qualified, more qualified. Let's help you get to the career that you want. Let's help you reach your goals. But awareness, people have to know it's available. Because even when I went to the informational session, I ran into a couple of friends who were very skeptical, as I was skeptical, and they tried to convince me that Warrior Way Back program is not going to work. They're only going to take a certain number of people. Don't even worry about it. You shouldn't even go in there. But I was determined to. I was there. Let me get the information. Let me make the decision for myself, and I'm glad I did.
You mentioned, some of the skepticism that your friends might have had around the program. Where do you think that
Mhm.
skepticism comes from?
Just the belief that nobody's really there going to help you. Nobody's going to really get rid of some of the financial things, the fees and the tuition to make you get your degree. I mean, they want to make money just like everybody else. And so, unfortunately, there are people that are skeptical out there to think, well, they have high tuition for a reason, and they're not going to change that. And then you have the people on the other side of the argument saying that, tuition should be free. And so where do you find the balance? And if there is an opportunity to make that happen, then we as a society should make that available and affordable for people to go back to school.
Hmm. You've talked also a couple times about the importance of opportunity, and
Hmm.
even going back to what motivated you to, go back to Wayne State. Obviously, of course, you took advantage of some of the programs, but to me, it sounded like, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Hmm.
It sounded like, yeah, the Warrior Way Back, program, the offer of debt forgiveness and all those things, plus the support from your family, plus being told to do this by your wife, all of those things, I think, were the decision point. But the motivation behind even entertaining that possible decision point was you wanting opportunity, and you mentioned earlier that as a black man, that the opportunity is less available to you than to other people in this country.
Right. That's
And
correct.
yeah, and so as you're looking around, do you feel like we're starting to get into a place where we're addressing that? But how do you feel, especially now, like with all the national dialogue around college
Hmm.
affordability, like you're talking about? Are we getting that conversation right?
I think having a conversation is the right way to go. I think there's still a lot of work to be done in that environment, in that arena. But I think since my wife is going to hear this, I think I need to let her off the hook. She didn't tell me. My wife didn't tell me. She just was the sounding board and an encouragement for me. So
Mhm.
let me get that straight because she's going to hear this.
We'll be sure to leave that in.
But yeah, I think one of the things that's happening across the nation and probably globally as well is the standard is being raised even more. So where now the opportunities that was available to you when you get a bachelor's degree is not really available anymore. Now you have to go to something higher. Now the master's degree is the new bachelor's degree. I think, and it's my opinion, I haven't done the research on it, but now there are more people with college degrees, and now a master's degree or even something further is going to actually be a little bit better than what we thought that the bachelor's degree was going to be. So I think people are getting it, but we have to make sure that the opportunity is available for everyone.
Mm. Yeah. Well, Jonathan, before we close out, is there anything else you wanna share with our folks?
Well, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to have me on. I met you, like you said, about a year or so ago, and we had a great conversation, great time there. I think that going back to school is something that's necessary, even if it's not going to advance you in your career. It's going to give you great opportunities for you to do something for yourself. If it's a goal that you started and you have not accomplished yet, just continue to work towards the goal. Maybe the plan didn't work, change your plan, but don't not reach your goal. You have to reach your goal. And even now, I'm thinking about going back and get my master's degree and maybe even something further than that. I appreciate you guys for this opportunity for people like me and others like me who have decided as an adult. I'm almost 50 years old, just got my college degree, and I don't think I'm going to stop.
Well, that's great news for all of us because we need everybody it's gonna take to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So
Yeah.
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 Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, taking some time
Thank
out
you.
today. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you around soon.
All right. Bye.
Welcome back. My next guest is Charlotta Thomas. Charlotta from Lafayette, Louisiana, is here to tell us a story about when she moved from being a bank executive to McDonald's and the kind of career change and education she needed to be successful.
Hi, Dakota. My name's Charlotta Thomas, training supervisor for McLaughlin Incorporated, doing business as McDonald's in Lafayette, Louisiana, where we currently operate 45 restaurant locations.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know you and I had a chance to meet down in Lafayette not too long ago, where we were talking a little bit about education in the business community. And while there, you had shared a little bit about your story about how you made your way to McDonald's in the first place, and what it took to kind of come back and take advantage of some of the education benefits. Can you bring us back? Kind of where you started up on that day. Where were you before McDonald's, and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, how it all started was Louisiana was going through an economic depression in the late 80s, early 1990s. And I was a bank officer at the time. I was there for about maybe 6-7 years. And they were getting ready to cut healthcare. And because of that, I had also become a newly divorced mom with 3 kids. So life happened, and I wanted health care for my children. That was not an option. I just wanted that for them. So they were building this brand new McDonald's in my community. Went there, asked if they needed a bookkeeper, because back then every McDonald's had a bookkeeping position. And I was told, no, ma'am, that job has already been filled. Would you like to apply as a cashier? And I'm like, did you hear that I'm a bank officer at a bank and you want me to sell Happy Meals, quarter pounds with cheese, shakes and fries? And they said, yes, ma'am, that is the position we have available. So thought about it, talked to some family and friends, and they're telling me, you're going to quit the bank to go work at McDonald's? I said, no, I just want to see what McDonald's has to offer. Well, that was a new chapter in my life right there. I did take a big chunk of humble pie. I swallowed it and I put on that crew uniform. Within 6 weeks, became a shift leader and shift manager, is what we were called back then. And I did work both of those jobs for about 3 years and decided that I needed to make a career choice. And that choice became McDonald's. And I haven't looked back since.
And so as you're deciding to make that career choice, I mean, obviously you had some education and training before as a bank officer, and you kind of realized maybe that making this pivot in your career choice was going to have to require some new education. Is that accurate?
Exactly. I did take some ACE accredited courses while I was at the bank. And apparently the bank that I was working at, positions were no longer available moving upward. So McDonald's was just a great fit. I was pretty much a young adult looking for a new career path. And McDonald's also had pretty much the same training progress as banking, just that McDonald's is a global brand. And following that lead was just great. Because the owner operator that I was working for at that time had only 9 locations. And as I mentioned earlier, we now have 45. So with growth comes opportunity. And I was able to be in alignment with that.
And so, as you're in McDonald's, you're the shift manager. You start taking advantage of some of the education offered.
That is correct.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looked like? What was it like daily life for you, trying to work, be a single mom to 3 kids and education all at the same time?
Balancing life was a major focus. Definitely working on the career, going through the necessary classes and courses necessary to run my own restaurant. So when I took on that position in May of 1991, I was able to obtain my first restaurant as the general manager. The Monday that I got off the airplane on the Friday, the Monday I was awarded a restaurant. That's how fascinating it was. I went through about 8 months of classes and became that general manager. Then the next goal was to become a supervisor. And then now the training supervisor for the entire organization. So it's just been a wonderful journey.
Mm. So you actually went to, I assume it was kind of corporate training for that 8 months to
That
become
is correct. It is called Hamburger University.
Okay, so you go
where you obtain a degree to run a McDonald's restaurant.
So you talked about, earlier, you had 3 kids.
Yes.
How did you manage to move from Louisiana to Illinois for 8 months, get the kind of training you needed to become a general manager while still, being a mother?
Here's the caveat. I got the training that I needed here in Louisiana. They just flew me out for 2 weeks to Chicago to get that degree. So it was really just a progress of courses throughout that 8 months. And then the last 2 weeks of that flew me to Chicago, got my degree, and then was awarded a restaurant to run.
If let's just say, obviously you got this training through McDonald's, and so there was, I'm sure some extra elements. It aligns with your work schedule. I'm sure, there's some relevant there. But let's just say for a moment that you instead, in order to get the kind of credential you needed to run your own restaurant, that you would have needed to go back through a community college or a 4-year institution model where you have taken courses over semesters. Do you still think that you would have been successful? What kind of barriers do you think were kind of mitigated by going through an employer-based program versus a college-based program?
Well, for us, it's what we call on-the-job training. So as you obtain the experience, you're learning. And for me, I did take advantage of our Archways to Opportunity program, which allows our staff to get continuing education while working, whether that's online, whether they prefer to go to a brick and mortar institution, that's their choice. But I did that for the last 2.5 years and obtained my bachelor's degree in business administration from an online college.
And so you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, that it has to be the relationship between working and learning. Is that kind of what you are talking about here in your program?
It's about a choice. It's about a life goal. Yeah, it was my goal to go to college before I had my children, but life happened, like for many of us. Yeah, I did get divorced with 3 children, but I did have goals that I wanted to obtain. And McDonald's has helped me with that progress.
Any regrets about leaving the banking industry?
No, sir.
I didn't expect so. I know how fervently you're passionate about your job.
And I'm still a client of that same bank.
Yeah.
That's where I do my banking, yes.
Oh, well, no bad blood.
My parents did their banking there, so I continue to do my banking.
There you go, generation after generation. Well, that's a wonderful place for us to end on. Thank you so much, Charlotta, for spending some time with us and sharing your story. And I wish you nothing but success down there in Louisiana.
Thank you so much, Dakota.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My thanks to Charlotta and Jonathan for joining us today and sharing a bit about their stories. I think if we can take anything from what they've shared with us today, is that it's not just one thing that we need to address to make sure people can get back on a pathway towards education and work prosperity. It takes all of everything. It takes family support, it takes friend support, it takes planning, preparation, and policy that improves affordability, and policy that allows people to get the credit recognized from the workplace or from other sectors back in. I'm particularly noted that Jonathan chose to stay at Wayne State University because he wanted to avoid having to deal with transfer issues. I'm taken by Charlotta's choice to stay with McDonald's education programs because she knew it had direct applicability to her chosen career path where she saw upward mobility. I hope that as we take lessons from these individuals, as well as the millions of others who are currently trying to get back in the education system, that we rethink the way that we support students from a both policy and practice perspective. Thank you for taking some time today to visit with us and listen to today's show. If you like our show, be sure to subscribe and give us a rating on wherever you're listening to your podcast today. Also, if you have any ideas for a new show or want to reach out to us, reach us at luminafoundation.org or reach me on Twitter at Dakota Palicki. See you next time.